The morning fog rolled thick through downtown Portland, Oregon, wrapping around the glass towers of Oregon Health and Science University like a gray blanket. Dr. Marcus Wellington pulled his black BMW into the parking garage, the engine's purr echoing off concrete walls. In the back seat, his 8-year-old daughter Emma sat motionless, her auburn hair falling across her face like a curtain she could hide behind. 3 months. 3 months since the diving accident that shattered more than just her spine. The doctors spoke in careful, measured tones about realistic expectations and adaptive living. But Marcus heard only failure in their voices. His daughter, who once cartwheeled across their living room and climbed every tree in their neighborhood, now stared out windows like she was watching a world she could no longer touch. As they entered the rehabilitation center through the main entrance, Marcus barely noticed the small figure sitting cross-legged near the fountain in the lobby's atrium. The boy couldn't have been more than 10, wearing a faded green hoodie that had seen better days and jeans with patches sewn over the knees. His sneakers were held together with electrical tape, and beside him sat a worn canvas messenger bag and a thermos decorated with cartoon dinosaurs. His name was Oliver Chen, though most people just called him Ollie. Every Tuesday and Thursday, he appeared in that same spot, sketching in a composition notebook or reading library books about anatomy and physical therapy. The hospital staff had tried to redirect him at first, assuming he was lost or waiting for someone. But Ollie had a way of melting into the background, becoming part of the furniture until people forgot he didn't belong there. What they didn't know was that Ollie's grandmother, May Chen, had been the finest acupuncturist and massage therapist in Portland's Jade District before Alzheimer's stole her memories. For 7 years, she had trained her grandson in the ancient arts of healing touch, teaching him pressure points and energy channels while other kids played video games. Healing flows through intention, little dragon, she would whisper in Mandarin, guiding his small hands along invisible pathways. The body knows how to fix itself. We just remind it how. Now May sat in a care facility across town, her brilliant mind lost in fog, while Ollie carried her teachings like precious seeds waiting for the right soil. Marcus wheeled Emma past the fountain toward the elevator, but something made him pause. Maybe it was the way the boy looked up from his notebook with eyes that seemed far too old for his face. Maybe it was how Emma's gaze lingered on him for the first time in weeks, a flicker of curiosity breaking through her gray silence. "Excuse me," Ollie called softly, closing his notebook and standing up. His voice carried a slight accent, remnants of the Mandarin lullabies his grandmother had sung to him. "I know this might sound strange, but I think I could help your daughter." Marcus felt his jaw tighten. "I'm sorry, what?" "I said I could help her," Ollie repeated, stepping closer but maintaining a respectful distance. "I know about nerve pathways and muscle memory. My grandmother taught me." The audacity hit Marcus like a slap. Here was a kid in taped-together shoes, probably homeless, claiming he could do what teams of specialists couldn't. "That's enough," Marcus said sharply, moving toward the elevator. "Emma, we're leaving." But Emma spoke for the first time in days. "Wait, Dad." Her voice was barely a whisper, but it stopped Marcus cold. She looked at Ollie with something that might have been hope. "What do you mean?" Ollie knelt down to her eye level, his movements fluid and purposeful. "I mean, your nerves aren't broken, just sleeping. Sometimes they need someone to sing them awake." He smiled, and for a moment, Emma almost smiled back. Marcus stepped between them. "We don't need help from—" He caught himself before saying something he'd regret. We have real doctors, son. Thank you, but we're fine. As they rode the elevator up to the rehab wing, Emma was quiet again. But Marcus noticed her fingers drumming against her wheelchair's armrest. When he asked what she was thinking about, she just said, "That boy's eyes looked like Grandma Rose's when she used to braid my hair." The physical therapy session went like all the others. Emma dutifully completed her exercises, while Marcus sat in a plastic chair, scrolling through emails and trying not to watch the clock. 45 minutes of careful stretches and assisted movements that yielded no measurable progress. Dr. Patricia Reeves, Emma's lead therapist, maintained her professional optimism. But Marcus could see the concern creeping into her expressions during their weekly progress meetings. After the session, as they made their way back through the lobby, Ollie was still there. This time, he was reading a thick textbook about neuromuscular rehabilitation, his brow furrowed in concentration. He looked up as they passed. "The spinal cord is like a river," he said quietly, as if continuing a conversation they'd never started. "Sometimes rocks fall in and block the water. But if you find the right places to push, the water remembers how to flow around them." Marcus stopped walking. "What did you just say?" "My grandmother used to help people walk again after strokes and accidents. She said Western medicine is good at fixing bones, but it forgets about qi, the life energy that makes muscles remember their purpose." Ollie closed his book, keeping his finger between the pages. "Your daughter's qi is just confused. It's not gone." Against every rational instinct, Marcus found himself listening. "And you learned this from your grandmother?" "Every day for 7 years, until the forgetting sickness took her mind." Ollie's voice caught slightly. "Now she doesn't remember my name, but my hands still remember hers." Emma wheeled herself closer. "What would you do?" Ollie's eyes lit up. "Acupressure points to wake up sleeping nerves, gentle massage to remind muscles what movement feels like, and qigong, moving meditation that helps the brain make new pathways when the old ones are blocked." He paused. "But mostly I would listen to what your body wants to tell us." Marcus felt something shift in his chest, a crack in the wall he'd built around his hope. "You're talking about alternative medicine, unproven treatments." "I'm talking about working with your regular doctors, not instead of them," Ollie said. "Traditional Chinese medicine and Western medicine can be partners. My grandmother always said the best healing happens when ancient wisdom shakes hands with modern knowledge." Emma looked up at her father with the most animated expression he'd seen in months. "Could we try, Dad? Just once?" Marcus stared at this strange boy with his impossible confidence and his grandmother's wisdom, weighing his daughter's first spark of engagement against his own scientific skepticism. Finally, he pulled out his phone. "What's your number? If, and I mean if, we decide to try this, I want to speak to your parents first." Ollie's face fell slightly. "I don't have parents anymore. And my grandmother." He trailed off, looking down at his dinosaur thermos. "She's in Sunset Manor on Division Street. But she doesn't really have conversations these days." The silence stretched between them until Emma spoke again. "Where do you live?" "Around," Ollie said with a shrug that tried to be casual. "I have places." Marcus felt his protective instincts warring with something else, a recognition that this boy carried his own invisible wounds. "Riverside Park," he said finally. "Saturday morning, 10 a.m. We'll try one session. But I'm staying right there, and if anything seems unsafe, we stop immediately." Ollie nodded solemnly. "I understand." Thank you for trusting me with Emma's healing." As they drove home through Portland's tree-lined streets, Emma pressed her face to the window, watching the city roll by with more interest than she'd shown in anything since the accident. "Dad," she said suddenly, "what if he's right? What if my nerves are just sleeping?" Marcus caught her eyes in the rearview mirror. "Then maybe it's time to wake them up, sweetheart." That night, Marcus sat in his home office researching acupressure points and traditional Chinese medicine until well past midnight. Part of him hoped to find evidence that it was all nonsense, a way to protect Emma from another disappointment. Instead, he found study after study showing how ancient healing practices could complement modern rehabilitation, how the mind-body connection played crucial roles in recovery that Western medicine was only beginning to understand. When he finally went to bed, he found Emma still awake, staring at the ceiling. "Can't sleep, honey?" "I keep thinking about what he said, about my qi being confused instead of broken." She turned to look at him. "Do you think people can really have healing hands?" Marcus sat on the edge of her bed, smoothing her hair back from her forehead. "I think some people have gifts we don't fully understand yet. And sometimes, when we've tried everything else, maybe it's worth believing in something that feels impossible." Emma smiled for the first time since the accident. Not the polite, careful smile she gave her doctors, but the real one that lit up her whole face. "I'm scared, but I'm also excited. Is that weird?" "That's exactly how I feel, too," Marcus admitted, kissing her forehead. "Get some sleep, brave girl. Saturday will be here before you know it." Riverside Park sat along the Willamette River like a green jewel, with walking paths that wound between Douglas firs and picnic areas dotted with families enjoying the crisp autumn morning. Marcus pushed Emma's wheelchair along the paved trail toward the spot where they'd agreed to meet Ollie, his medical bag slung over his shoulder just in case. They found the boy sitting on a blanket near the riverbank, his messenger bag open beside him, and what looked like a small portable massage table set up in the shade of a maple tree. He wore the same green hoodie, but his jeans were cleaner, and his sneakers had been reinforced with fresh tape. When he saw them approaching, he stood up and bowed slightly, a gesture that seemed natural rather than formal. "Good morning, Doctor." "Wellington." "Good morning, Emma." "You can call me Marcus," Emma's father said, looking around at the setup. "This is certainly more organized than I expected." Ollie smiled. "My grandmother always said preparation shows respect for the healing process." He gestured to the blanket. "Emma, would you like to sit here where you can feel the grass and hear the river? Sometimes the earth's energy helps sleeping nerves remember that they're part of something bigger." As Marcus helped Emma transfer from her wheelchair to the blanket, he noticed how carefully Ollie had chosen their location. Sheltered from wind, with soft ground and easy access to the path. Despite his youth, the boy moved with the confidence of someone who had done this before. "Before we begin," Ollie said, sitting cross-legged beside Emma, "I want to explain what we're going to try. First, I'll feel for blockages in your energy pathways, places where your qi might be stuck or confused. Then we'll do some gentle acupressure to remind those pathways how to carry messages between your brain and your legs. Finally, we'll practice some simple qigong movements to help your nervous system remember patterns of coordination and strength." Marcus pulled out a notebook. "I'd like to document everything we do, if that's okay, for my own peace of mind." "Of course," Ollie nodded. "Healing works best when everyone understands what's happening." He began by placing his hands gently on Emma's legs, his eyes closed in concentration. His touch was feather-light, barely making contact. But Marcus could see Emma's face change as something shifted in her awareness. "I can feel something," she whispered, "like tiny earthquakes under my skin." "That's your qi beginning to move," Ollie explained softly. "It's been pooled up, waiting for permission to flow again." His hands moved to specific points along her legs and lower back, applying gentle pressure with his fingertips. "Each of these spots is like a gate. We're just opening them so your body's natural healing energy can do its work." For 20 minutes, Ollie worked in focused silence, while Marcus took notes and Emma closed her eyes, her breathing deep and relaxed. Occasionally, she would make small sounds of surprise or comfort, and once she said, "It feels warm, like sunlight is moving through my legs." "That's exactly right," Ollie murmured. "Now we're going to add some movement to help your brain remember the feeling of controlling your muscles." He guided Emma through a series of gentle exercises, visualizing walking while moving her arms in corresponding patterns, breathing techniques that coordinated with imagined leg movements, and meditation that focused on sending conscious intention down her spinal cord to her legs. "Close your eyes," Ollie instructed, "and imagine roots growing from your spine down through your legs and into the earth. Feel them extending deeper and deeper, drawing strength from the ground into your body." Emma's face grew peaceful, almost luminous, as she followed his guidance. Marcus found himself setting down his notebook, drawn into the quiet intensity of the session. After an hour, Ollie sat back. "How do you feel?" Emma opened her eyes, blinking as if waking from a deep sleep. "Different. Like my legs are present. Does that make sense?" Marcus leaned forward. "What do you mean by present?" "Before, it felt like they weren't part of me anymore, like they belonged to someone else. But now," she looked down at her legs with wonder, "now they feel like mine again." Ollie smiled. "That's the most important part, reconnecting your mind with your body. Everything else builds from there." As they packed up, Marcus found himself studying this remarkable boy who spoke like an ancient healer trapped in a child's body. "Ollie, where did you say you were staying?" The boy's hands stilled on his messenger bag. "I have places. I'm okay." "That's not what I asked." A long pause. "There's a youth shelter on Burnside. Sometimes they have space." Marcus exchanged a look with Emma, who nodded slightly. "We have a guest room," he said carefully, "if you'd like a steady place to stay while we continue these sessions." Ollie's eyes widened. "You would do that? Even though you barely know me?" "You've shown my daughter more hope in one morning than she's had in 3 months," Marcus replied. "Besides, I'd like to learn more about what you're doing. Maybe even document it properly." Emma clapped her hands together. "Please say yes, Ollie. I want to keep working with you." The boy looked out at the river, then back at them. "My grandmother always said that when the universe opens a door, walking through it is an act of faith." He shouldered his bag. "I would be honored to stay with your family." As they walked back toward the parking area, Emma riding in her wheelchair but sitting straighter than she had in months, Marcus noticed something that made his breath catch. Her feet, which had been positioned carelessly for weeks, were now resting flat against the footrests. When he pointed it out, Emma looked down in amazement. "I didn't even realize I was doing that." Ollie smiled knowingly. "The body remembers faster than the mind. We just reminded your nervous system that your feet have a job to do." That evening, as Marcus showed Ollie to the guest room in their craftsman-style home in the Pearl District, he found himself marveling at the day's surreal turn of events. This morning, he'd been a single father, drowning in medical bills and diminishing hope. Tonight, he was welcoming a homeless 10-year-old healer into his family. "Ollie," he said as the boy set his few possessions on the dresser, "I want you to know that you're not here as our project or charity case. You're here as Emma's partner in healing and as part of our family for as long as you want to stay." The boy's eyes filled with tears he quickly wiped away. "Thank you, Dr. Wellington. Marcus, I promise I'll earn my place here." "You already have, son. You already have." Word spread through Portland's medical community, the way news travels in tight-knit professional circles. Quietly at first, then with gathering momentum. Dr. Patricia Reeves mentioned to a colleague that Marcus Wellington's daughter was showing remarkable progress. That colleague told a neurologist friend about a young patient who'd regained sensation in her legs. The neurologist mentioned it to a researcher studying alternative medicine integration. Within 2 weeks, Marcus was fielding calls from curious physicians, skeptical insurance adjusters, and hopeful families who'd heard whispers about a boy who could wake up sleeping nerves. He found himself defending Ollie's methods to medical review boards while simultaneously marveling at results he couldn't explain through conventional science. Emma was walking. Not perfectly, not without assistance, but she was taking deliberate steps between parallel bars in their home physical therapy setup. Her neurologist, Dr. James Morrison, ran test after test, shaking his head at scans that showed neural activity where there should have been silence. "I can't explain it medically," he admitted during a consultation. "But I can't argue with the results either. Whatever this boy is doing, it's working in ways that complement traditional rehabilitation." Marcus began documenting everything meticulously. Ollie's techniques, Emma's progress, the integration of ancient healing practices with modern medical care. What started as personal notes evolved into a research proposal, then a pilot study approved by the university's ethics board. "You want to study me?" Ollie asked one evening as they sat in Marcus's home office, Emma practicing her walking exercises in the living room. "I want to study what you do," Marcus clarified. "If we can document and understand your methods, we might be able to help other families like ours, other children like Emma." Ollie was quiet for a long moment. "My grandmother used to say that healing is like music. You can write down the notes, but the song lives in the silence between them." He looked up at Marcus. "What if studying it changes it? What if trying to explain the magic makes it disappear?" It was a question that would haunt Marcus for weeks. But Emma provided the answer during one of their evening therapy sessions. She had just completed a full lap around their living room, using only a walker, her face glowing with achievement. "Dad," she said, breathing hard but smiling, "I think the magic gets stronger when more people believe in it. Ollie's grandmother's wisdom shouldn't die with her memory. It should grow and help other kids like me." Ollie nodded slowly. She would want her teachings to help as many people as possible, if documenting them helps more healers learn these methods. He smiled. "Then we're honoring her legacy, not diminishing it." 6 months later, Marcus stood before a conference of rehabilitation specialists at Oregon Health and Science University, presenting preliminary results from what had become known as the Wellington Chen Protocol, an integrated approach that combined traditional Chinese healing methods with conventional physical therapy. In the audience sat families whose children had benefited from Ollie's gentle touch. medical professionals eager to expand their understanding of healing, and researchers documenting the remarkable outcomes they were seeing in study after study. But the most important audience members sat in the front row. Emma Wellington, who had walked to the podium unassisted that morning and now sat beside the remarkable boy who had taught them all that healing comes in many forms. The human body's capacity for recovery continues to surprise us, Marcus told the assembled crowd. But perhaps what surprises us most is how often that recovery happens when we combine the wisdom of the past with the tools of the present, when we remember that healing is both a science and an art. As he spoke, Ollie held Emma's hand, both of them living proof that sometimes the most profound healing begins with the simple act of believing that healing is possible. After the presentation, as they walked through the hospital where their journey had begun, Emma paused at the fountain in the lobby atrium. "This is where you first talked to us," she said to Ollie. He nodded, remembering the scared girl in the wheelchair and the desperate father who almost walked away. "My grandmother always said that healing happens when the right teacher meets the right student at exactly the right moment." "Who was the teacher and who was the student?" Emma asked. Ollie smiled, the same gentle expression that had first caught Marcus's attention all those months ago. "I think we all taught each other. That's how the best healing works. It flows in every direction until everyone involved becomes more whole." As they left the hospital together, a family bound not by blood, but by the shared miracle of second chances, Ollie carried his grandmother's ancient wisdom forward into a future where traditional healing and modern medicine walked hand in hand, helping children find their way back to themselves, one gentle touch at a time. In the end, the story wasn't about the boy with healing hands. It was about the healing that happens when we open our hearts to possibility, when we trust in love over fear, and when we remember that sometimes the most powerful medicine comes wrapped in the smallest, most unexpected packages. The healing continues,